On today's show, should Kris Dunn have made an all-defensive team? Why didn't he make an NBA all-defensive team? Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA. Just finished my 20th season as a Clipper fan. Been covering the Clippers for 5 years on my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, and 3 years right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hope you had a good Memorial weekend. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Kris Dunn and why he wasn't on an all-defensive team. We're going to be talking about if Derrick Jones Jr. had a case to make the all-defensive team, and then, of course, who we actually got on the all-defensive team, which was Ivica Zubac. But let's just dive right into it. Kris Dunn did not make an all-defensive team, and we were third in the NBA this season in defensive rating, and he was one of the biggest reasons why. Last year, we were around middle of the pack defensively. This year, we were third. That is not by coincidence. And when I say middle of the pack, last year in the regular season, we were 16. So literally right below, just beginning the bottom half of the NBA defensively. And we were still the fourth seed, a 51-win team. Kris Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr. come in. They make all the difference. Even without one of our better defenders in Kawhi Leonard, Kris Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr.'s point of attack defense, their off-ball defense, made such a huge difference. And that is why we were top 3 defense in the league and ended up winning 50 games despite our best player missing over half the season. There is no other team in the NBA that can say that without their highest earning player missing over half the season, they won 50 or more games. That is because of our defense. Why didn't Kris Dunn make an all defensive team? Well, because the NBA now has this criteria where you have to play 65 games to make an all-NBA team or an all-defensive team or be eligible for NBA awards in general. Well, that's pretty funny because Kris Dunn just played 74 games and started 58 of them. So he should technically be eligible, right? He's averaging 24 minutes per game, but no. In order for those games, 65 games, to be counted or credited with eligibility, you have to have played at least 20 minutes in that game. I was keeping track of this all season long, Kris Dunn's NBA all-defensive case, and it's just super unfortunate because there were just a lot of games where he had played 19 minutes or 18 minutes, and that ended up somewhat costing him. If I look at games in which he played 20 or more minutes, I would just be counting in front of you, but I'm counting it right now as I'm talking, trying my best to do the math while I'm talking. I count 27 before the new year. Now when I go to 2025, 31 going into February, 32, 33, 40 going into March. But see, I get it. 41, 42, 43, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52 going into April. And then 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58. So he was 7 games short. Now, I remember they said if you're like 2 games short and you played 19 or 18 minutes, we'll make an exception. Here's how heartbreaking this is. Here are the games, how many games that Kris Dunn played 19 minutes. 1 against the New Orleans Pelicans in April, 2 in a row in March, so that makes 3. And then against the Blazers in January, that makes 4. And then against the Golden State Warriors in November, that makes 5. So 5, and then the second game of the season against the Nuggets. So 6 games of 19 minutes. If only we had gotten him. And still, even if he had gotten those 6 games at 64, but they may have made an exception then. But it was just those fine margins. Those fine margins. It's unfortunate because, in my opinion, Kris Dunn absolutely deserves to make an all-defensive team. His lateral ability, his hands, his ability to get into the passing lanes, his anticipation of where a guy's going to turn or where a guy's going to dribble or where a guy's going to pass is second to none. His physicality is fantastic. He guarded the best players in the league every single night. Started offensive fast breaks with his steals. He was just fantastic, and you wouldn't be able to tell that from the stat sheet. He did, however, average 2 steals a game, 1.7, but I always say that steals are not the best indicator of if you are a great defender, but I can assure you by watching him play every single night, there is no secret as to why he started 58 games, as to why we had a top 3 defense. He was guarding the best players. His screen navigation is fantastic. If I had to say he has a flaw defensively, I think he can gamble too much at times, and he's still not the tallest guy in the world, but overall, his help defense is super well timed. And the thing about Kris Dunn, he always wants to guard. He has this commitment to defense that you just need and you can't teach. So when you look at who made the all defensive team, well, the first team was Dyson Daniels, Lou Dort, Draymond Green, Evan Mobley, and Amen Thompson. From what I've seen and what I heard about Amen Thompson this season, and the fact that the Rockets were 5th in defensive rating, I'm going to give him the nod there. But Dyson Daniels, I know he had a bunch of steals, but his team isn't great defensively, but I don't know if he was necessarily better than Kris Dunn. I don't give a damn what metric you give me. Metrics, a singular metric, is not the sole indicator of who was a better defender throughout the course of an 82-game season. But I'll say this, our team's defense was great, and he's guarding the best player every night. Clearly, their team, Dyson is guarding the best player on their side. I'm not going to say that Kris Dunn should have made it over Lou Dort when the Thunder had a historically great defense in terms of relative defensive rating. So that's the one question. And then on the second team, Zoo, J-Dub, Jaren Jackson, Rudy Gobert, and Toumani Camara. I mean, I've heard a lot of great things about Toumani Camara this season. Were Toumani, Jaren Jackson, J-Dub, again, a historically great OKC defense in terms of relative defensive rating. But let me know who you think in the comment section was our best defender this season. If it's a Zubac or Kris Dunn, because it's different. You got a rim protector versus a guy that stays in front of the ball. I think staying in front of the ball against these great guards, especially with the lack of perimeter contact you're allowed, unless your name is Lou Dort, is very difficult in today's NBA more than any, with the ability to travel, the gather step, all this stuff being redefined, the side steps that you just couldn't even pull 20 years ago, the carrying that's being allowed relative to 30 to 40 years ago, the offensive initiation of players, the landing space. I mean, I can go on and on. There's just endless advantages for offensive players these days that make it really hard to be like the Kris Dunns and the Lou Dorts. Although Lou Dort gets away with it. He gets to play like a 90s or 80s player defensively on the perimeter or early 2000s relative to the rest of the league. But Kris Dunn, I mean, he was amazing. Now, when you go to the complete voting results, I want to go to where Kris Dunn was. However, he couldn't receive votes, though, because he wasn't eligible. So that's unfortunate. He just didn't even get votes. Sucks. But anyway, coming up, going to be talking about Derrick Jones Jr. Did he have any case to be an all-defensive player? Going to be talking about that coming up. I got to tell you a little something about DoorDash. NBA fans, you know what time it is? Playoff season means big performances and even bigger rewards. DoorDash is bringing the heat with a slam dunk deal for the Dash Pass members during the 2025 NBA playoffs. It's called They Swoosh, You Score. Anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, Dash Pass members score a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more. Use the code WINGSTOP50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, and totally free. Offer valid noon to midnight the day after the game. Terms apply. And funny enough, right now, I'm literally waiting on a DoorDash order. What's your go-to move after an epic game or getting ready for a game like right now where I'm crunching time, got to record the pod, want to upload it, then watch the game? DoorDash. Can't leave the house. Just don't have the time right now, man. Every second counts in my day. So here's the play. Sign up for Dash Pass. I have Dash Pass to unlock this and more exclusive deals all season long. When any player scores 50 plus in a playoff game, Dash Pass members can grab a free 3-piece chicken tenders or 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the next day with a $20 order and code Wingstop50. That's Dash Pass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms apply. All right. Let's talk about the other guy that made a huge impact defensively this season for your LA Clippers, and that is Derrick Jones Jr. We saw this guy play against us and do an exceptional job on Paul George, tried his best on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander last year in that second round, even though SGA still averaged 30-plus points. And then, of course, on Anthony Edwards, with all these great players, you can't always stop them. You can just only hope to contain them, and Derrick Jones Jr. did a pretty damn good job of that all Western Conference playoffs long. So adding him to our team, I was ecstatic. There were so many moments this season where I was like, Jesus, this is one of the best contracts in the league. He's literally making $10 million a year. There was one clip I posted that ended up getting like 1,000 likes on Twitter during the season against, I forget, it might have been Dallas, where he literally switched on to everybody in one possession. And I was like, yeah, $10 million a year is an absolute bargain for this guy. His ability to stay in front of the ball is very good as well. He is 6'5", but he looks so much bigger because of his long arms. His athleticism allows him to not only get some really nice blocks, but the ground that he can cover in rotations defensively. I mean, he gets from one spot to another in a snap of a finger, and it's just amazing to see and witness. And obviously, I got a chance to go to, I forgot the number off the top of my head. I have to go check out my vlog playlist, but I want to say, 23, 24 games this season to see this guy play live and see some of the incredible things he would do. And of course, off the ball, he's also good in the passing lanes. He's also pretty alert. Now, he played 77 games this year and averaged 24 minutes a game. But how many games did he play 20 plus minutes? Well, I'll tell you, all 5 games in October he did. This is crazy that if Derrick Jones Jr. didn't even get a vote, I mean, he wasn't always spectacular. There were times where he would get cooked by the elite players, but you're telling me none of these guys that are receiving votes got cooked by opposing teams' best players? Our defense was what it was for a reason. Now I'm counting right now. I'm at 39 games of 20 or more minutes before February. Wow, 40. This is sad. They're giving us no love. 49 going into March. Wow, he was actually eligible, wasn't he? He was actually eligible. 57, 58, 59, 60, 61. 4 games short. So see, I don't even know if he was eligible, but I'm counting 2 games already, 3 games. Wow. 4 games. I already counted 4 games. We played 19 minutes. I mean, he didn't get any votes. Was he not eligible? I mean, that rule is so annoying. If you play 65 plus games, you should be eligible. But would he have made a defensive team? Honestly, I probably wouldn't put him over those guys. But I'm looking at the voting, and I'm seeing who's on it. It's disgusting. You got Josh Hart. He only got 1 vote, a second place vote. Cason Wallace, he's good. Ant-Man was a better defender than Derrick this year, given the way they started the season, and he has to guard, he has to literally do a lot offensively. You got OG on there. You got 45 second place votes. So he was the closest to making the team. And I mean, I get it. OG's a beast. Derek White, he's very good. Dylan Brooks, Jaden McDaniels, these guys are all very solid. Brook Lopez, I mean, I don't watch Bucks games every single game, but he was better defensively this season than Derrick Jones. Miles Turner. Josh Hart. Was Josh Hart better defensively this season than Derrick Jones? Because we were one of the best defensive teams in the league. And Derrick Jones Jr. started how many games? 55. I just have a problem with the fact that he's not even getting votes. Yes, he got cooked at times. But if you look at his rotations, off ball, his ability to switch, and just have another guy that can navigate screens and be good on that end, I mean, it's what makes it so much easier for a guy like Ivica Zubac. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, look, people can say whatever they want. I don't really care about media awards. I don't think that these guys are all watching every game, and it's very hard to gauge like who is playing better defense than who. You're just probably going with metrics or what's the defensive rating when this guy's on the court. But there's a reason I'm not giving you those stats, because like whatever our defensive rating is with Derrick on the court, it's very dependent on who those other 4 guys are. So I bet you it's good because he started so many games. But like, that's why I don't really value, like, I don't value all defensive teams like that when I rank players or like compare players. I just go off my eye test because there's a level of stats don't lie, but there's no defensive metric to me that is flawless. So my eye test necessarily isn't flawless, but I trust it more than a metric that's like made up by some dude that probably like never even played Division I basketball. So like, I'm not fit to make up metrics. So like, why should I believe some random formula? And I get that some do match the eye test, but I'm just saying, like, there are probably some that can completely discount it with that exact same stat. You know, yes, like for example, Bill Russell being all-time leader in defensive win shares, like it backs up what people saw that he was, and what I know about him, that he was the best, most dominant defender relative to his time in history. Facts. But I don't need defensive win shares to show me that. I can watch the tape and I can see how dominant he is protecting the rim and stuff and what it can do when you had no 3-pointers back then, you know, when everyone's going to the rim. So when I watch every single game, I don't need a defensive metric to tell me that Derrick Jones Jr. and Kris Dunn are great at defense. But how do I compare them to a Dyson Daniels without watching the games? You can't. I would have to watch essentially the same amount of games. So it's very hard. People are just voting. These are media members that are watching basketball just like me. So like, I'll give it a prime example. In 2017, so Derrick Jones, my takeaway from this segment is that Derrick Jones Jr. was fantastic defensively. He probably wasn't all defense worthy. For him to get no votes, though, is kind of insane. He probably wasn't even eligible given this ridiculous criteria. But defensive teams, honestly, like they mean great things for the player. But like, I wouldn't value them at all if you're like saying, oh, but he was all defense last year and this guy wasn't. Like, dude, who's voting for these things? Just random guys in the media like Brian Windhorst. Like, they watch basketball. Like, there are some fans that have more knowledge of ball than him. So, like, I don't really understand. Not discrediting him, but, like, it comes down to how much you watch. You know what I'm saying? People can see who plays good defense. Basketball is not that hard of a sport to understand, in my opinion. There are nuances. There are certain things that people don't know, but it's not rocket science when you listen to an NBA broadcast and you can see who's good at defense and who's not, for real, especially when it comes to guards. So here's my thing. In the 2016-17 season, CP3 and DeAndre Jordan were our all defensive team like representatives, but Luke Baumute was our best defender all year. And if you watch the games, you could tell he was taking the #1 assignments, had to take the toughest assignments, and was just unbelievable guarding 1 through 4. So I wouldn't take the all defense stuff too seriously. But coming up, we're going to take what we can get. Ivica Zubac was all defense. Going to be talking about why he was our lone representative. All right. So the all defensive team, Kris Dunn, Derrick Jones Jr., unfortunately, were not eligible to make it. But Ivica Zubac was. He obviously played over 65 games and played well over 20 plus minutes in those games. So I'm really happy that he got the nod for that second team. Of course, I did an episode reacting to that already, but his rim protection has been a thing since the moment we saw him with the Clippers in 2019. But I have to say that when you add a point of attack defense around him, like we had this year with the likes of Derrick and Kris, now Zubac doesn't have to fully commit to stop the ball and pick and rolls, leaving his man open for lobs and whatnot, drop-offs. Now he can kind of play 2 at once a little bit easier, which was, snuffing all the pick and roll advantages that teams normally have when they run high ball screen with today's spacing. So his rim protection, obviously he's a very solid post defender. We saw that against Jokic, but in today's NBA, you don't have to guard many post-ups. So it's a lot of it's just rim protection and pick and roll. Are you using your hands? Is your timing good? Are you actually blocking shots? Are you taking away the angle for a player to pass and making it hard for them to make a decision in that pick and roll? when you've got the guy behind, the point of attack defender chasing the ball handler around, and you have the big man right there around the rim. So being able to, there's so many times where you see Zubac contesting shots and then rebounding that same shot that he contested on that second jump. That is extremely valuable and something that he was able to do for us all season long. So Big Zoo definitely deserved his all defense nod. He was spectacular defensively this season. I definitely want to ask, though, do you, Clipper Nation, think that he was our best defender? Because Kris Dunn was amazing. You know what I mean? But I would argue that Zoo is our most impactful defender because we had no direct replacement for him. We went out and got Drew Eubanks. I mean, didn't play him in this, in the playoffs really because he wasn't quite good enough. So we essentially didn't really have a backup like that. Of course, we had Mo Bamba the first half of the season, but just such a drastic drop off when Ivica Zubac wasn't on the court in just about everything that we did. So defensively, he's an anchor, offensively setting screens. But I'm just happy that Zoo ended up being an all defensive member. The first all defensive team member of the Clippers since I don't think Kawhi Leonard's ever made it as a Clipper. I think it's straight up Chris Paul or DeAndre Jordan, but I'm going to double check right now. It's Kawhi, 2021 second team. And honestly, I think he deserved that. But he wasn't guarding the best players too much. But I thought there were games when he was more engaged defensively. But that's going back 4 seasons. So first defensive team member for the Clippers since Kawhi Leonard. And absolutely well-deserved. Now, no matter what, when we're talking about the roster next season, I think the Clippers, if they can, try to build off this season, you're still going to have a defense-first identity. And having the coaching staff with guys like Jeff Van Gundy, promote that defensive identity and that defensive emphasis and attention to detail, that's great. I think the next step is to get a big four that can allow Kawhi Leonard to not have to, box out so much around the basket, be that low man and help. He can kind of stay on the perimeter a little bit more. And then obviously move Norman Powell to the bench so we can still have a point of attack defender starting alongside James Harden in the backcourt with Derrick Jones or Kris Dunn, and then probably have Kris Dunn come off the bench, something like that. So definitely something to look at for next season. But the overall takeaway, Kris Dunn didn't make the all-defensive team, not because he didn't deserve it, because of this ridiculous 65-game, you need to play 20-plus minutes in 65 games thing. Derrick Jones Jr., same thing, wasn't even considered as a result. But Ivica Zubac was on that second team, and I'm very happy for him. But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper and LA sports content. And of course, right here at Locked On Clippers on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I've noticed that part of the offseason has come where people are like, I need my Clipper detox. Don't need to listen to news. I can see the view count on the YouTube. Come on, people. We're still here. We're still here. I'm trying to get you your Clippers fixed, but I understand. You want a little detox. You want a little break in Cancun. I get it. But I'm going to try to keep popping out more episodes. I've been really bad lately, but and I'm moving yet again, so it's tough. But I'm going to try my best to just crank some out before the end of this month of May. So appreciate you for just tuning in, all those regulars that tune in, the everydayers. And I apologize for the lack of frequency in the episodes, lack of consistency. However, you will see a change. Defensive team. I don't know if Kris Dunn or Derrick Jones, I don't know if they'll make it next year because I just don't see them with that stupid rule, 65 games and 20 plus. They're just both very good, and we have a lot of options, and we might bring in someone else, so just who knows. But the age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers.